order the September 8th, 2021 East Ridge Planning Commission meeting. Before we begin, can we have roll call, Ms. Middleton?
Roll call. Chairperson Chauncey,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Tuggle, Commission
Order
Member
the September 8th, 2021 East Ridge Planning Commission meeting. Go ahead.
Vice Chairperson Tuggle, Commission Member Cornelius, Commission Member Howe. Here. Commission Member Miller.
Okay, first thing we're going to do is to approve the minutes from our August 9th, 2021 meeting. I trust everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes, and I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion to approve and a second. Can I have roll call, please?
Vice Chairperson Tuggle,
Yes.
Commission Member Howe. Yes. Chairperson Chauncey.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Lister, are you with us? I meant to do a mic check on you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay. First item on the agenda tonight is going to be the request of James Lominick to have the property located at 4105 Cemetery Road, tax map number 169AF00401, rezone from R3 apartment district to R1 residential district, and that address is 4105 Cemetery Road.
That's correct, Mr. Chauncey. The existing land use right now is vacant. The surrounding land use to the north is single-family residential. To the east is a cemetery. To the south is a duplex, and to the west is a single-family residential. The property does have some zoning history on it. A portion of the site was rezoned from R3 to R1 in 2002 for Ordinance 741. The site surrounded by property that is zoned R1 residential district and R2 residential duplex district. RPA case study found the extension of the cemetery is compatible with adjacent land uses, and the cemetery functions similar to a park and provides green space in the residential area.
Hey, thank you, Mike.
Mhm.
Is the applicant here tonight, Mr. Lominick? You're welcome to come up here to talk, but you don't have to. So I'll give you the opportunity to if you want. If you'll state your name and your address for the record, please.
James R. Lominick, from 4510 Brighton View Trail, Cumming, Georgia 30040. I don't live in the area, obviously, but it's family property going back to 1847, and so I'm kind of one of the final lineage right now. So that's me.
Okay. I think you might have something
I have
else.
some handouts I'd like to give you all.
Sure.
So
You
you
can
can
come
kind of
up here
follow
and
around.
hand them
Would
out.
you like one too, sir?
Yes, sir, if you don't mind.
We're a little light staffed up here. We got a couple of commission members that couldn't make it. Thank you.
To give you a little history, the cemetery that's on kind of the main road when you come up off of Ringo Road on the left has been a cemetery in the family since 1847. And there was a little shack still there, it's a concrete brick, that when I was a little kid, the grave digger lived there, and my grandfather lived in that house at on Ringo Road. It's where my dad grew up and his brothers and sisters. My cousin Mark Bookout has an eye, ear, nose, and throat business there now. My dad developed the apartments, the Lominick apartments back in the late 60s, early 70s, trying to give you a history of the whole little area there. And I was in high school then. I did all the dirty work, cleaning up after the contractors on the weekends for $2 an hour. It was quite a thrill, I can tell you. And my uncle went into partnership with him, and he and Dad eventually, Dad took kind of took out the frontage area to build the office buildings there, and his sister, Mark Bookout's mother, got the house, and then the apartments were Dad and my uncle's. And across from that is the cemetery. And like I said, there is a concrete house there. And then Dad got the bright idea to put a mausoleum up back in the early 2000s. He built it in 2004, and it's was pretty much all his. I kind of took over management of that and the office buildings in 2014 when Dad's health started to decline. And he passed away eventually on July 24th, 2015. We've kind of dabbled around with what to do with the mausoleum, and we wanted to add on to it. That's our game plan. And there's the property in question that I'm here to respectfully request to get the zoning changed tonight is on the first page. You'll see 4105 Cemetery Road. And what I've got in orange there is the subject property. It got kind of confusing. I don't know how or where all this was done, but if you go to the next page, there's more of a kind of a plat scenario, which does state 75 page plat book, page 75, plat book 75, page 147, which is the plat for that. And then on the next page is the plat itself. And Dad, back in Thomas F. Lomnick, who's my dad, back in 2004, got it zoned. The front part you'll see on the plat is zoned R1. That's where the mausoleum is, and the brick house. And I don't know how they did it or what, but he just got that zone for the R1, which is for cemeteries. And they left, I guess it was all zoned R3 at one time for multifamily. And it just kind of stayed that way on the back part, which is actually it's it comes out in the same tax bill. I'm sorry, two different tax bills, but one for the R3 and one for the R1. The R1 is owned by Murtaugh Corporation, which is the name Dad and his wife gave the corporation that owned Lomnick Mausoleums. And then the back side of that is just been the vacant land. Our game plan now is to, at some point in time, use that as a cemetery as well, and develop it as a cemetery. And I would think that'd be the easiest of businesses or endeavors to pursue, because there would be literally no traffic there except for funerals, obviously, and it would be maintained by the guy that mows all of it anyway right now. So that's kind of the quick skinny on it. I put the tax bills on it in the last two pages, and again, which shows that number 142378 is the property in question that we're looking to convert from R3 to R1. And then the very last page is the mausoleum site, which as even in talking this over with the zoning people downtown, or the map people, tax parcel map people downtown, it's got the same prefix 169AF007, and then it's got an S001 on it. And they didn't really know what it was for. The only thing we came to figure out was that that's the piece that has the mausoleum and the brick house on it, brick shed on it. So that's the Murtaugh Corporation that Dad formed to do the mausoleum. So that's kind of it. Do y'all have any questions?
I do not. Questions, Mr. Lomnick?
The intention is to just expand the cemetery plots and potentially the mausoleum.
Well, it wouldn't be building another mausoleum. It'd strictly be in-ground burial site plots like exist on the regular cemetery right now. That's the total game plan.
I'm really familiar with that property. I walk through there a lot. It's quite wooded right now. Are you intending to clear the property as well, or will that happen over time as the plots are sold?
That'd probably happen over time. This gentleman that takes care of the property right now, he's also a wood chipper, and if he couldn't do it, we can easily find somebody that can. But we planned to, it kind of slopes down, but we'd
Yeah.
be starting at the top right behind the mausoleum and working the way down
Right. Okay.
over time.
I have a question for you. In the zoning book, it says, those are uses permitted on review. For cemetery and R1, so.
Actually, direct that to Mr. Howell there. He's,
Okay, so in the zoning book, a cemetery is, section 201 F is on review. So I just want to make sure that we're voting properly on R1 without having to add a provision for the review.
Yes, you would be. So if this body approved it tonight or did not approve it, it'd still go to city council for its 2 readings. And after that second final reading, I mean, if the gentleman wants to go for a use on review or just let it stand at being R1 for right now, that's fine. But yeah, for cemetery use, that is a use on review by city council. They would approve that.
okay. So, thank you, Mr. Lominick. You can have a seat.
What's the next step? I'm kind of not familiar.
So we're gonna, I'm gonna have the audience, anybody who wants to come forth and either speak in favor or against the rezoning. And then we'll see if this body either denies it or approve it. And then we'll give you some directions on where to go after that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Did I clarify everything that otherwise?
Yes, thank you so much.
So I will open a public hearing in regards to the rezoning of 4105 Cemetery Road. If there's anyone here in the audience who would like to come down to the microphone to either speak in favor or against the rezoning, you're welcome. Now is your time. If you'll state your name and address.
My
for the
name is
record.
Robert Tim, and I'm on 4010 Belvoir Drive. So the back of my house is right across the street, almost like directly from that property. So, and I've been there for 45 years. So I am very interested in what goes on that property. Pleased to the punch that it's wooded. That's fine. Greenland is great. If there was something going to go on over there with tearing all those woods out, I would not be in favor of that. Cemetery on the hillside, I don't see any problem with that. But if you get down below that hill, there's another lady back here that lived in the property next door to me as a child, and she remembers that there was a pit, a sinkhole back there so deep that you could throw a rock in and you couldn't hear it hit the bottom. So I don't know what's at the bottom of all that. I do know in the 45 years I've been there that the Lominicks were using it kind of as a dump for the apartment stuff, mostly just vegetation type stuff, not trash. And then they would come in about once a year and they would kind of level that all out again because it was stacking up. I get flooded in my property because we're in the lowest spot on the block. And I was concerned about that because that kept coming up and up and up. So that just made me lower and lower and lower. And your water's got to go somewhere. But as far as this rezoning is concerned, I would be concerned about what's underneath down there if they start going further than that hillside with plots, because that could be a problem. I don't know what's down there. We've had sinkholes in that low spot, so sinkholes are a possibility.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tim. Is there anyone else? If you'll just wait, Mr. Lominick, I'm gonna get everyone out here.
My name is Linda Litton. I'm Bob's friend that told him, and his neighbor too, that told him
Could you
about,
state your address?
okay, 4012 Bevel Drive. And I'm
Grab your, tell your name one more time.
Litton, Litton, 4012 Bevel Drive. I'm his next door neighbor, and I'm probably the property that is closest to the area they're talking about. I've lived there since, off and on, since 1953, when I was about 3 years old when we moved there. And I know that was all wooded when we moved in. And it was, my father was a good friend of the lot, Mr. Lominick, old Mr. Lominick, who was probably James's grandfather, I believe. And he'd come by there and talk to him in the afternoons and stuff. And he told him if he ever wanted to dump anything back there, it was fine. So Daddy dumped a lot of stuff back there. I know personally there are a lot of old windows, and we redid the windows in the house. There's a whole about 30 windows back there. There's all kinds of, you wouldn't believe, there's a huge barrel of tar. He used to repave the driveway, went back. I mean, just all kinds of stuff I remember from my childhood. And later on, when the Lominicks built their property, their apartments, they used it personally to dump their old appliances, their old mattresses. I remember sometimes seeing 4 or 5 old mattresses. People move out, leave the mattresses, so they'd take a whole load of them down there and dump them as they would the old stoves, refrigerators, whatever. And they would get bulldozers every year or so. They'd bulldoze it all in, and you couldn't see it again for a while. And then a year or so later, it would be built up back again. So I would like to see the cemetery expanded, but I would have a hesitation about what would be back there if you were trying to put graves back there. They'd have to really go down deep and make sure before they hit this huge layer of junk that's going to be underneath. And not on the hillside. They didn't do it on the hillside. They did it back in, as Bob said, it was sort of like a sinkhole, I think is what you call it now. But since I was just about 6 at the time, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember you could go back there, throw stones down there, you never hear them hit the bottom. And I do remember my dad coming back there one time with some of us neighborhood kids, and he called it a sinkhole. And that's why they just kept being able to jump junk and bulldoze it over for, I don't know, I guess they just stopped recently. I think probably when Mr. Stan Lominick died, probably was about the time they stopped that, but it's been going on for decades. Like I say, I was about 10 or 11 when they were dumping junk there, and now I'm in my 70s. So, you know, you can figure it from that. So I say I have no objection to them building the cemetery, but I would hate to buy a plot and then they bury my loved one on top of a bunch of junk, and it would, I mean, you can just, imagine what could happen. So that's my only objection. I would limit it at the hillside. And going any further, they'd have to have somebody, an engineer or somebody go out there and really look at that and make sure they knew what they have it surveyed or something. If there was a suitable, it just might sink. And like Bob said, there is a problem with flooding further down the line. And I can just imagine a disaster. So I don't want that to happen in our neighborhood. And I don't know if the Lominicks want that to happen for the cemetery. So they need to be careful and have that area really surveyed before they do anything like that. Otherwise, I'm all for it. I have no problem with it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else? Okay, I see none. I'll close this public hearing.
Got a quick question for staff.
Sure, go ahead.
So if we are voting just on the zoning approval tonight, the actual use as a cemetery is a permitted use that would then later go before council before it could be decided on to use for that. So if they were to put restrictions on what part could be used for burial or whatnot, that would happen at that time. That's not something we're looking at tonight, right?
That's correct.
This
Mr.
just the
Pickle.
basic zoning and any permitted uses later on.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Lominick, I wanted to add one more thing. You're welcome to come back up if you want to just take another minute, if you wanted to respond, and then we'll take action. If you wanted,
I thought you had a question.
I did. I have a question. I think you wanted to after the first gentleman had came up here. Did you want to respond to that? You don't have to.
Yeah, I was not involved in what happened after the apartments were built. And eventually my uncle Stan owned the
Mr.
whole-
Lominick, can you talk into the microphone? I know you want to address him, but we got to keep it on the record here.
Yes, sir.
With the,
Well, it was my grandfather, Press Lominick, that used to own all that. And he passed it on to Dad and his brother, his sister. And like I said, we built the apartments, and I never really even paid attention or knew about the backside until the past few years when Dad passed away. My dad, Tom. I never knew of any throwing mattresses and junk back in the back part down there. I'm kind of surprised to hear that they would do that, but that was not my part of the family that was there then. And I can promise you that wouldn't happen. I've dealt in a similar situation before about a sinkhole issue when, like back in the 30s and 40s, before there was any kind of development there, that people would use it for just a throwaway for tires and just garbage, really. And so that may be the case. I haven't walked that part of the property exactly, but I can promise you if we ever got to the part where we we're going to develop it into go through with the cemetery, that we would be very cognizant of getting that cleaned up and looking attractive. We're not just going to put some junk in there that would raise havoc from the neighbors. Certainly not our intention. And so I just want to clarify that we would, if and when we do something with it, it'll be in a tasteful manner. I can promise you that. So.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good question. Okay, I will, I'll entertain a motion either way, or motion to discuss.
Motion to approve the rezoning for R3 to R1.
Second.
Get a motion to approve by Mr. Tuggle and a second by Ms. Howe. Any other questions or discussion? I see none. Can we have roll call, please, Ms. Melton?
Vice Chairperson Tuggle,
Yes.
Commission Member Howe,
Yes.
Chairperson Chauncey.
Yes. All right, that item is approved. Mr. Lomanick, if you want to contact staff, it's got to come back for the plan or the East Ridge City Council for final approval. It may be on, well, it's not going to be on tomorrow night's agenda. It may be on the following agenda. But if you want to contact staff tomorrow or sometime at the end of the week, they'll.
Will I need to come back for that?
You could, yes. I do not know if you'll just reach out to staff, tomorrow's, sometime tomorrow, they should give you some more direction on what to do next. You got, okay, Melissa right there will give you some information. We'll get on to our final item on the agenda tonight. It's going to be at the address at 1410 North Mac Smith Road. The request of Lodge of Chattanooga LLC to have the property located at 1410 North Mac Smith Road, tax map number 169 L-L-002, rezone from C1 Commercial District to R3 Apartment District.
That's correct, Mr. Chauncey. The existing land use is extended stay hotel. Surrounding land use to the north is vacant, I-75. To the east is I-75 interstate. To the south is commercial, and to the west is the retirement center and multifamily residential. The property itself doesn't have any zoning history on it. RPA compared to 1400 Mac Smith Road, also the 6600 block of Ringo Road and Fincher Avenue, which is the Life Care Center, which was rezoned from R1 to R3, C1, and C2 to R3 in 2010. RPA case study noted there are residential uses west along North Smith Road and to the south along McDonald Road, and the use of an apartment is similar in use to the extended stay hotel. The developed form of the area is generally commercial in nature with large building and surface parking lots. An apartment complex is similar in height and scale to the commercial buildings. The one concern they did have was the property directly abuts a major U.S. interstate, which could pose some serious noise disturbance issues for future residents. I did have an on-site meeting with Mr. Patel on August the 17th, which in fact, he brought these renderings for you guys to look at tonight and get a better scope of what was going on since they weren't present during our last meeting.
Hey, thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm sorry, you can come up here now, sir. If you'll state your name and your address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Amish Patel and my address is 400 Galleria Parkway, Suite 1140, Atlanta, Georgia, 30339. And I also have a few handouts if you don't mind.
Sure. Thank you.
Good evening. So my name, as I stated, my name is Amish Patel. I'm a member and represent the ownership for the Budgetel Inn and Suites located at 1410 North Mac Smith Road. and appreciate you meeting us this evening. I know it's close to supper time, so I won't take too long in regards to the rezoning of this property from a C1 to to R3 apartments. Everyone's aware of the issues that have arisen without this property. Many of you are aware the property's condition at the time that when it was a Superior Creek Lodge and we purchased the property back in 2016 of January. Took us 2 years to renovate that property. We spent a good amount of funds to renovate it to get it up to code and up to par. So what we've done for where the property was to where it is pretty substantial. And now we're ready to take it to another level, is why we're asking for this property to be rezoned as apartments, and the benefits of changing it from an extended stay to an apartments. The rezoning would resolve a lot of issues that has plagued the property for years and help us achieve a mutual, what we're both looking for as owners and as you as the city. You guys have done a great job with the city of Eastridge in revamping. So much new stuff has come into the city, and there's still so much more that I know is to come that will help benefit the city of Eastridge. We have prepared with ASA Engineering a variety of plans and drawings, a proposed apartment complex. And as you see, we have a rendering done. Unfortunately, Vanna White wasn't available, so we have Sunny right now who's going to show us some of these renderings. This is a proposed rendering of the property, as well as an overview of this as well. And as you can see, there's the interstate, there's Max Smith Road. We've got 4 buildings, including what will also be a leasing office, as well as amenity area that you would find typically in an apartment complex. Fortunately, we have the infrastructure still at the property currently. We've got guest laundry, we've got community areas that we can develop once approved to be an apartment complex, things that residents would want in a property, such as recreational areas, a gym, mailbox area. The drawings show parking lot accommodations, landscaping that if it's not already there, we can put in place. Sonny's just flipping through examples of, we currently put some rooms together to make them into apartments. These are just different room types that currently have existing with balconies. We've got kitchens in the rooms. So the conversion won't be that difficult or take that long once we're approved. How does this benefit the community from being an extended stay to an apartment complex? Well, we'll be seeking responsible tenants to stay there. We'll do thorough background checks. We'll require them to sign a minimum of a year lease with us. With background checks, we can say yay or nay depending on their history. We have to have a source of income if they have a stable, reliable job. And if they stay there, they most likely work in Eastridge. If they work in Eastridge, they'll spend their dollars in Eastridge. So we feel it'll overall benefit the community. It'll change the appearance of the property instead of extended stay into an apartment complex. We will be giving up the right to operate as an extended stay forever. So we know we're willing to give that right up in order to once we get rezoned. The type of tenants that we also get will have to prove that they have 3 times greater funds in their account than the rent is. So again, we're talking about responsibility and the kind of clientele that we want to stay at our property. Everyone wants to fix the issues that occurred on the property, and a rezoning will really help this. The type of tenants and turnover will be approved to where we've got people that will stay there and enjoy staying there. The property will be renovated to look nice, to fit the part, exterior, the landscaping, all which we believe will benefit the community. This last rendering that we have here is an apartment used to be an extended stay hotel in Rome, Georgia, and we converted it to an apartment complex right now. They're operating 60, 70% full right now. We just opened earlier in the year. As you can see, the furniture, case goods are clean, they're functional. They're great for single people, small families who are just starting out, that have stable jobs, that have a stable income. We've got, they've got amenities like gym, mailboxes. So overall, we want to change the whole theme of what's going on at the Budgetel into something that is going to directly reflect and impact the community in a positive way. And that's pretty much all I have for you. So if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Oh, and I'm sorry, forgive me. What I handed you actually were copies, it's just a draft of a lease, which is a pretty thorough lease with information, background check information, just so you can review.
Okay. I'll give our commission members an opportunity to ask you any questions, Mr. Tuggle. Ms. Howell.
Sure, just one quick question. Is this plot is currently part of the Border Region Development District, right?
It is. Sorry.
It is currently. Okay.
Yes.
When I look at those photos of converted rooms, it doesn't show kitchen area. Can you talk about the
Oh.
rooms, the square footage, and can you also discuss the monthly rent for?
Sure. Sunny, if you can go back to, there's one that says kitchenettes in the apartment. Should say dining. So square footage, we're looking about 450 square feet for the for those apartment rooms.
Their efficiency apartment.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Rent can be anywhere from, depending on the room type that we have, from $800 to $1,200 a month for the larger rooms. That's something we will be doing studies to find out what the other apartments are currently selling, but from our research, that's what we're finding. And one of the draws is that all utilities are included at this property. The TV, cable, water, electricity. So that's going to be benefits that are included in the rent as well. So if you see, there's a dining area as well as a 2-burner stove, full sink, microwave, refrigerator.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Are there any open code violations right now for this property, 1410?
There's not.
Are there specific regulations that an extended stay is required to comply to that an R3 apartment district is not?
Repeat that one more time. So
So is there certain things that a extended stay is required to comply to that an apartment complex is not required to comply to?
I'm sorry, the extended stay would have to apply, basically, our ordinance on extended stays was what it would have to comply to. And that's, limited the amount of stay in the extended stay. As far as the R3 goes, it'd be treated just like an apartment complex, so.
And concerning the parking, I know that was one question we had last week, is what were the parking requirements? And I'm assuming that's covered by the capacity we're expecting. I think we're mostly just converting the units here, right? I mean, we're not adding anything. So is the current parking, does that fit our standard for?
So when it was built, it fit that standard. Of course, when we adopted our municipal zoning ordinance, it went to basically 1.25 parking spaces, but it's considered legal non-conforming at this point. So, I mean, under structures and land use for non-conforming parking areas, they may be continued used and counted towards the total parking requirements for any new activity, addition or extensions placed on the site. Provided, however, that the existing parking design does not pose a threat to traffic safety. The chief building inspector may require redesign of such areas of traffic safety hazard can be eased or eliminated. The loss of parking spaces resulting in the required redesign would be considered by the chief building official in determining the minimum parking requirement. So it's basically just legal non-conforming. It can, if you change that use, it can continue to be as such.
Unless they're adding or subtracting units, it just continues as it is.
It,
So
it
it's fine.
does, yeah. So, I mean, but you know, at that point, yeah, since it's legal non-conforming, right? I mean, because if you looked at it, at our standard right now, they'd be looking at almost 333 parking spaces required.
It's currently about 1-to-1, I think, right?
It is
I'm
about
trying to recall
1-to-1.
what we were discussing last week and make sure all my people who are not here this week, all the questions that we had. So I'm trying to reference my notes, but I think it was about 1-to-1.
Very close to
Okay.
1-to-1, yeah. I believe there's, if I'm not mistaken, 266 rooms.
Yes,
There's
sir.
two,
That's correct.
according to what I had from a site plan, I think there's 257
57,
parking
yeah.
spaces.
So there are some 2-bedroom units. Well, it says 2 queen. Is that 2?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm referring to the beds.
Okay. So they're all 1-bedroom apartments, but none of them have a traditional kitchen. It's more an efficiency style, like refrigerator and hot plate or whatnot.
Yes, sir. In those types of room, it is a separate little facility. So you have the living room and then you have the kitchenette area, the bathroom, and then another area is your room in buildings 2 and in buildings 4.
Right, because as I recall, 1 and 3 are kind of one way and 2 and 4 are another. sort of-
Yes, sir. Correct.
Can you discuss the overall construction plan? Is it going to be a major remodel of every room to convert to apartments, or will they stay similar to the way that they are now?
Yes, if John can answer that.
John,
Yeah, could you state your name and your
John
address for the
Patel,
record, please?
400 Galleria Parkway Street, 1140, Atlanta, Georgia, 30339. I am one of the principal owners, and far as the construction, I handle most of that. And far as the rooms go, all the structural work was done in like 2016. The new work for the apartments is going to be mainly all cosmetic. New beds, new furniture, new paint, new flooring, redoing the parking lot, outside repainting, upgrading the landscaping, getting the pool back working, designated pet area, designated picnic area, stuff like that, that can more amenities to accommodate for the apartment complex.
Mr. Todd, would you have any other questions?
So on the border region development, if they were to redesign, there's not any portion of revenue that they're entitled to from the city for redevelopment, but also there's no revenue for the city from the redevelopment either way, right? There's no
Right. That's
sharing
correct.
agreement for residential. It's only for commercial development.
That's correct.
Okay.
Anything else? Mr. Tuggle? Take your time.
I mean, I appreciate you guys bringing in the information. This is what we needed last time. And I know you got here right after we did. We understand that. So I appreciate you bringing in the information. I'm glad you're trying to do something with it and the redevelopment. My only concern with it is purely economic about the city. This is it's a major plot of land for us for the Border Region Development District. And it's currently zoned commercial. That's a major thing for us, as the city to be able to bond against development in a commercial way. That's my only real concern. So far as your plans for the site, I think they're terrific. I think we need higher density. I think everything you're trying to do is the right thing. My only concern is having to do with the sales tax part of it.
Going back to sale tax, what normally happens, I'm not sure if you're aware, after 30 days, when they stay, they extended stay, there's no sale tax anyway.
Right. And there's also not any sales tax on an apartment complex.
Absolutely right,
So-
sir.
I'm sorry, but what we're hoping for in this is that, again, with the more responsible clientele coming to stay there, that they'll spend their money in East Ridge and send it throughout the other businesses in the area.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so
And I agree with you on the need for
yeah,
density, and I'm glad that you guys are wanting to do a development. I absolutely welcome that. It's just a purely economic concern
makes
that I wanted to make sure I voiced.
you have anything else? No? You good? I'm gonna go last, so
Okay.
if you're finished. Okay. So I guess one of my big questions was, and I mentioned it at the last meeting, was the setbacks for the requirements for the actual acreage of the property. So the way it reads here is you need a base of 10,000 square feet of land. And then an extra 2,000 square feet of land per unit. Okay, can we agree on that?
No, that's correct.
Okay, so when I do the math there, you would actually need 462,000 square feet to accommodate 266 units with what you currently have there now. But your lot size is only 224,000 square feet, just over 5 acres. So that's half. You actually have half of what's required.
Is that the
You have
density?
you have your land, you have half the
Okay.
square footage in land of what it requires to meet those requirements that I just mentioned.
Is that your density coverage? Is that what you're looking for? Per acre, how many apartments? Is that what you call it, a density coverage?
So it says that you need a base of 10,000 square feet to start and an additional 2,000 square feet per unit. So when you do the math at 266 units,
Okay,
you would need 462,000 square feet, but you only have 224. You have half. I didn't know if you guys had covered that basis, or are they going to be exempt from, meeting these requirements? So this is a question.
We have a lot of existing stuff that's non-conforming, and that really falls right underneath that same.
Yeah.
It's
The only thing I
legal,
could-
but it's non-conforming.
If they could just knock down a bunch of walls, turn 266 units into 105 units, then maybe they could meet those requirements. Again, I don't know if you did your
Right.
due diligence already. You kind of know what your plans are in those regards.
well, we thought, like Mike said, it's, basically most of it's gonna be like grandfathered in, or, like you said about the parking, the
Yeah.
non-conformance.
So you're just assuming it's going to
Right,
be
right.
exempt
And-
from meeting the
Right,
setback.
Things like that, yes, absolutely. It's legal non-conforming because when that stuff was built, it was legal to
Right.
that site, that particular
Well-
site. Once they adopted our new zoning ordinance, a lot of stuff is, it's non-conforming. As far as the room sizes go, that's something that we would actually have to look at for our wise is, if they're going to use those as efficiency rooms, what's actual sizes of those. I don't know if like with the Castle Creek Apartments, and that was in Atlanta, I believe it was.
what was
In
that?
in Rome, Georgia.
In Rome.
In Rome, Georgia, what they allowed them to have and what, code cycle they were following as well, because
That's all the questions I had, just to kind of go off Mr. Tuggle's point there. I mean, this C1 zoning, where it's located in the border regions is the way it's zoned right now seems to be the most proper zoning as a C1 to capture the most retail sales possible with it being in border regions. Converting it over to R3 would only limit those opportunities to capture those retail sales. It wouldn't necessarily prohibit it altogether, but it would definitely drastically affect in a negative way to capture those border region retail sales. So
One quick question, Mr. Howell. I remember last time there was a question about would we need to update for fire codes? Because I think there's some kind of a difference about, this gets a bit beyond me, but something about the firewall spacing. Is that grandfathered in too? Is there an issue with that? What?
So buildings 1, 2, 3, and 4 actually already have sprinkler systems in them.
Okay.
Yeah, once that's installed, that really lowers your horizontal, separations and your vertical separations, which would been an hour. Now they can be reduced to 30 with a sprinkler system in place. And with
Okay.
yeah.
So it could continue as it is?
Yes, it
Okay.
can. Mhm.
I'm gonna have a public hearing if you don't have anything else. Mr. Tuggle, do you have anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Y'all can have a seat.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll open a public hearing. If there's anyone here in the audience who would like to come down to the microphone to speak in regards to this rezoning, now is your time. I see no one. I will close this public hearing. And I will entertain a motion in regards to the rezoning.
First of all, I do applaud them for going through and making the renderings and going through all the information. That is very helpful. My concern with it, the only logical reason I have to have any issue with this is purely economic. We've spent a lot of time working on the commercial development of East Ridge, and this is one of the most significant pieces of land we have for commercial development. That's the only reason why I would like to make a motion to decline the rezoning from C1 to R3.
Second.
Got a motion to deny by Mr. Tuggle and a second by Ms. Howe. Any other discussion? I see none. Can I have roll call, please?
Vice Chairperson Tuggle,
Yes.
Commission Member Howell,
Yes.
Chairperson Chauncey.
Yes. Mr. Patel, it did not pass through the planning commission. You have the right to take this before city council. So if you want to get with staff on a later day to discuss how to do that, you're welcome to do that. So, but we thank you for your time, sir. There is no other business to discuss tonight. With that, I will